Marvel just played a master stroke, and most people didn't even realize it. And yes, of course, I'm talking about the CinemaCon trailer reveal for Avengers Doomsday. Everyone right now is busy breaking down the trailer, talking about Doctor Doom, talking about the action, the cameos, the fights, but almost no one is actually talking about the bigger picture behind all of this. Because what Marvel is doing here is not just revealing a movie, they are quietly fixing a broken connection with the audience. This is not just hype building, this is strategy. This is Marvel understanding that they lost a large portion of their audience after Endgame, and instead of forcing people to catch up with everything that came after, they're now making a move that pulls everyone back in. Casual viewers, old fans, even people who stopped caring completely. And once you actually connect all the dots from the Endgame re-release to what was shown in the Doomsday trailer, you start to realize this is not just smart. This is a calculated gamble that could either completely revive Marvel or expose everything. Now, everyone already knows that Avengers Doomsday is going to act as a sequel to Avengers Endgame. That's not the point of this video. The real point is understanding why this is actually one of the smartest decisions Marvel has made in years. Because if you look at what happened after Endgame, the excitement was at an all-time high. But slowly, that consistency and connection started to fade. The multiverse saga was building towards Kang, everything was structured around him, and then suddenly, after the situation with Jonathan Majors, Marvel had to drop that entire direction and replace it with Doctor Doom, a character who realistically has had almost no proper setup in this saga. And that is not a small problem. That's a massive risk. Because you're replacing your main villain at the last moment without the years of buildup that someone like Thanos had. Now, this is where the master stroke comes in. Instead of trying to fix everything through more random projects or complicated explanations, Marvel is doing something much simpler and much smarter. They are going back to Endgame and using that as the foundation again. The re-release of Endgame is not just for nostalgia or hype, it's a strategic move. It's a way to reset the audience's memory and reconnect them emotionally to the story that actually worked. And after what was revealed during the CinemaCon panel, it's becoming very clear that this re-release is not going to be identical. There is a very strong chance that new material, possibly even a post-credit scene, will be added specifically to bridge Endgame directly into Doomsday. That means for a huge section of the audience who didn't follow every single film and series in between, Marvel is basically creating a shortcut. You watch Endgame, and then you jump straight into Doomsday without feeling lost. And when you look at the trailer description that came out of CinemaCon, it supports this idea perfectly. The tone itself already feels like a continuation of Endgame, but darker and more desperate. The trailer opens with incursions, entire universes colliding, and Professor X witnessing destruction from the X-Mansion, immediately establishing that the stakes are not just global anymore, they are multiversal and unstable. Then Doctor Doom arrives, not as a slowly teased villain, but as a fully formed threat who is already ahead of everyone. His warning about an unthinkable decision directly mirrors the kind of moral weight we saw in Endgame, where saving everything required sacrifice. This isn't a setup movie like Infinity War, where things are just beginning. This already feels like the middle of a crisis. As the trailer progresses, we see different heroes interacting in ways that clearly show the multiverse is breaking apart. Shang-Chi fighting Gambit, Yelena fighting Mystique disguised as herself, Namor clashing with Wakanda, and the Fantastic Four stepping into the Avengers world. This is not random fan service. This is chaos caused by universes overlapping. And in the middle of all this, there's a clear attempt by the heroes to come together, shown through the gathering at the new Avengers Tower, but even that feels unstable, like alliances could break at any moment. Then comes one of the most important moments in the entire trailer. Thor confronting Doctor Doom. Thor, who has faced beings like Thanos, attacks with full force using Stormbreaker, and Doom stops it effortlessly with one hand. This single moment tells you everything about the power scaling. This is not just another villain, this is someone operating on a completely different level. And it also explains Thor's speech that runs through the trailer, where he talks about warriors stronger than all of them who still died, and how this threat is something even he fears. That dialogue doesn't just build Doom, it emotionally connects back to everything Thor has lost since Endgame. But even after all of that, the moment that truly connects everything back to Avengers Endgame is the return of Steve Rogers, and the way this moment is presented matters. It's subtle. almost quiet. You hear a familiar voice, a simple line, and then Mjolnir moves not towards Thor, but away from him. And when it lands in Steve's hand, it doesn't feel like a reveal designed for applause. It feels like a continuation of something that was intentionally left incomplete. Because Endgame gave Steve a conclusion, but it never fully explored the consequences of that conclusion. He went back in time, chose a different life, and Marvel left that story closed on the surface. But this version of Steve, his appearance burned his presence, the fact that he's here at all, suggests that his journey didn't stay contained within that timeline. Something happened, something that likely ties directly into the instability of the multiverse. His return is not framed as, coincidence or fan service. It feels like a result of the same incursions that are tearing everything apart. And that's where everything begins to align. The incursions we see at the start of the trailer, entire universes colliding, heroes from completely different worlds crossing paths, the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, all of them are being pulled into the same conflict. Not because they chose to be there, but because the boundaries between their worlds no longer exist in a stable way. What makes this approach interesting is that Marvel is not spending time over explaining how we got here. They are not trying to justify every missing piece from previous films or series. Instead, they are using familiar anchors, characters, emotions, consequences from Endgame, and building forward from that. It's a much more direct form of storytelling. You don't need to track every project from the past few years to understand what's happening here. If you understand what Endgame meant, you already understand the emotional core of this story. And that's exactly why this feels like a calculated move rather than a random direction change. The shift from Kang to Doom could have easily broken the entire saga beyond repair. There was no long-term setup for Doom, no gradual escalation, no carefully planted seeds across multiple films. But instead of trying to artificially create that setup now, Marvel is choosing to rely on something stronger: context and familiarity. They are placing Doom directly into a world that the audience already understands, and then elevating him through moments like the confrontation with Thor, rather than through years of buildup. At the same time, they are simplifying the entry point. Instead of expecting the audience to remember a fragmented storyline across multiple projects, they are creating a clear path. Endgame leads into Doomsday. That's it. And from a storytelling as well as a business perspective, that's extremely effective. It brings back casual viewers, it reconnects longtime fans, and it removes the barrier that made the newer phases feel overwhelming or disconnected. That's why this works as a masterstroke. Not because it's safe, but because it's focused. It acknowledges where things started to fall apart and chooses a direction that brings everything back to a single, strong narrative line. Instead of expanding endlessly, it resets. And honestly, after everything Marvel has done over the last 6 or 7 years, this might be the most grounded and strategic decision they've made. Not because it relies on nostalgia, but because it uses familiarity in a purposeful way. It respects the audience's connection to Endgame while still pushing the story forward into something larger and more dangerous. So now it comes down to you. Do you think this approach is actually going to work? Or is Marvel taking a huge risk trying to rebuild everything on one film? Let me know your thoughts, because this is one of those moments where the outcome could genuinely shape the future of the entire franchise. And if you're interested in content that goes beyond surface level breakdowns and actually looks at the bigger picture behind these decisions, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel,